The crash of a 200 bottle of Dom Perignon exploding against the tile didn't terrify me half as much as the wild, unhinged look in my sister Cassie's eyes. She shrieked that my black wheelchair looked like a lump of coal, an eyesore ruining her perfect engagement photo. Then she shoved me straight into a tower of champagne flutes, glass slicing into my skin as blood mixed with sparkling wine. I couldn't stand. My legs have long refused commands. But Cassie made one devastating mistake. She didn't realize that the elegant woman rushing across the lawn, steadying my neck with the precise touch of an elite professional, was Dr. Helena Kingsley, the groom's aunt, and the same surgeon who'd placed 8 screws into my spine exactly 24 months ago. Only this time, Dr. Kingsley wasn't using a scalpel. She was using the law. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how a biological sister could descend into such cruelty, you need to go back with me, just 1 hour earlier, when the wrought iron gates of Magnolia Springs Botanical Garden first swung open, revealing what looked like a pastel fever dream. Pink roses, mint green hydrangeas, and creamy lilies spilled over every surface. Ribbons floated from white columns, and a string quartet played something baroque and painfully expensive near a marble fountain. This was Cassie's definition of perfection. And I was about to become the single dark stain on her flawless canvas. The invitation, written in looping, pretentious calligraphy, had declared, mandatory attire, spring pastels, baby pink, or mint green. No exceptions. So I obeyed. I wore a pale pink silk dress from the Nordstrom Rack clearance section, one that made me feel almost pretty again. It draped smoothly over my atrophied legs, and I'd curled my hair in soft waves that fell past my shoulders. But my ultralight carbon fiber wheelchair. Matte black. A custom 5,000 chair I had scraped and saved for every disability check, every birthday card from distant relatives, every dollar from freelance editing work. Only £18. Smooth, responsive, life-changing. My freedom. My independence. The only reason I could navigate the world without asking for help every 5 minutes. I didn't think Cassie would care about its color. I was wrong about so many things. I rolled up the accessible ramp, thank God the venue actually had one, and scanned the crowd for my sister. She stood by the champagne fountain, glowing in ivory lace that probably cost more than my entire year of medical supplies. Her blonde hair sculpted into a flawless updo. Her makeup airbrushed to bridal perfection. She laughed at something Greg, her fiancé, said, her manicured hand resting possessively on his arm. Greg seemed like a genuinely good man, at least the few times I'd met him. Soft-spoken, kind, the sort of person whose smile felt real. More than once, I'd wondered what he saw in Cassie. But then again, she'd always been skilled at showing people only the version of herself she wanted them to see. I approached with hopeful sincerity, wheeling through clusters of guests who politely stepped aside. My heart pounded. Despite everything, the 2 years of silence, the way she'd rewritten the past to cast herself as the victim, I still hoped. I still believed that somewhere inside her was the girl who used to braid my hair before recitals, who used to sneak me cookies when Mom starved me on those awful pre-performance diets. Cassie, I called, forcing brightness into my voice. She turned, and for a split second I saw something flicker across her face. Annoyance? Disgust. It vanished so quickly I could have imagined it. Matilda, she said, her smile stiff and shallow. You made it. The way she said it, you made it, as if she hadn't expected me to. Or perhaps hoped I wouldn't. I swallowed the sting and held out a small gift box wrapped in vintage rose-patterned paper. Inside was a pair of antique pearl earrings I'd hunted for weeks to find, pearls like the ones Grandma wore in her wedding photos, the ones Cassie used to say she loved. To afford them, I'd withdrawn from my emergency medication fund, the account I keep for when insurance inevitably refuses to cover something essential. But I wanted to give her something meaningful. A quiet message that said, "I still love you, even if you don't love me back." I naively waited for her to smile, or at least acknowledge the gesture. Instead, Cassie pinched the gift box between two fingers, as though it might contaminate her. She opened it, gave the pearls a single glance, and her lip curled. "Secondhand," she said, as if diagnosing a disease. "It looks old. This doesn't match my Vera Wang dress at all." She dropped the box onto a cocktail table without another thought, already turning back to her phone, probably checking how many likes her engagement announcement was getting. My heart squeezed tight, literally hurt, but I swallowed the tears, like I always had. "Don't rock the boat, Matilda. Your sister is stressed. Be the bigger person, Matilda." The lines my parents had drilled into me my entire life. She didn't mean it the way she pretended. Except she did. She always did. That was the moment Cassie's eyes dropped to my wheelchair, and her entire expression shifted, from mildly dismissive to openly hostile. "What is that?" she hissed, stepping closer. "My wheelchair," I said slowly, thrown off by the venom in her tone. "Cassie, you know that pitch-black thing looks like the Grim Reaper wandering through Eden," she whispered, leaning in so only I could hear. Her breath smelled like champagne mixed with cruelty. "You did this on purpose, didn't you? You just couldn't let me have one perfect day." "Cassie, no, this is my chair." I needed to, but she was already gone, heels snapping sharply over the stone path. I watched her march straight toward a nearby service station, where extra linens and supplies sat neatly folded. She snatched a pristine white tablecloth, of course it was white, and snapped it open with a crack like a whip. She came back with it billowing behind her like some dramatic cape. "Cover this pile of junk right now," she ordered, voice low and dangerous. Before I could react, she tried draping the cloth over my legs, over the chair, trying to hide me like I was a piece of mismatched furniture ruining her decor. As if I was something shameful that needed to be tucked away. For the first time in 2 years, 2 years of letting her rewrite the accident, 2 years of swallowing her cold remarks and quiet blame, I pushed back. I grabbed the tablecloth and shoved it away. No, such a tiny word. Such massive consequences. Cassie's face turned scarlet, blotchy patches blooming across her neck. She yanked the cloth back and stormed off, muttering "ungrateful bitch" under her breath. For the next hour, I watched from the sidelines while she worked the crowd, smiling too brightly, laughing too loudly, leaning in close to whisper her poisonous little stories. Every few minutes, a guest would glance at me with pity or suspicion. I knew exactly what she was doing. She was rewriting the narrative again. Later I'd hear the full list of lies, that I had Munchausen syndrome. That I liked being in a wheelchair for attention. That the accident, the one she caused while texting her ex and crashing into a tree, wasn't nearly as serious as I claimed. That I was dramatic, jealous, determined to steal her spotlight. And the worst part? Some people believed her. The engagement party carried on around me like I was a boulder in a stream, guests flowing past, pretending not to see me. I parked myself near the rose garden and watched Cassie flutter around the event like a pastel butterfly. Greg noticed me once, he even started to walk over. But Cassie swooped in, curled her arm through his, and steered him toward an elderly couple near the fountain. I wondered if he knew. If she had told him the truth about the accident, or the polished lie she preferred. About an hour into the party, a photographer showed up, some hipster guy with a man bun and expensive gear. He began setting up near the main stage, where thousands of dollars worth of peonies framed the platform. Family photos. Cassie called out, her voice cutting through the string quartet. Everyone gather. I stayed where I was, praying she'd forget about me. No such luck. Her eyes locked on me across the lawn. She gestured sharply, still wearing that frozen, perfect smile. I wheeled myself over, dread curling in my stomach. Everyone was already assembling, Mom and Dad awkward in dressy clothes, Greg's parents looking wealthy and politely confused, aunts, uncles, cousins filling in the spaces. And at the end of the lineup sat a large, pink-ribboned banquet chair, straight-backed, rigid, requiring core strength I didn't have. A chair I absolutely could not use. Matilda, Cassie said sweetly, her public voice syrupy and fake. Move the wheelchair. Sit in that chair. I want the photo to look uniform. Everyone watched. The photographer raised his camera. Mom gave me her please don't make a scene look. Dad studied the ground. Cassie, I said softly, desperate to stay calm. You know I have a T10 spinal injury. I don't have the balance for a regular chair. I'll fall. I'd explained this countless times. A T10 injury means no sensation or control from the belly button down. No abdominal muscles. No ability to catch myself if I start tipping. Sitting unsupported was like walking a tightrope without a pole, possible for maybe 5 seconds before physics won. Her smile didn't waver. But her eyes turned sharp and cruel. You're always good at ruining things, she said sweetly, then leaned in. You're jealous I'm getting married and you're a cripple, right? The word hit me like a physical blow. Not because I'd never heard it, but because I'd never heard it from her. Stand up, you fake, she hissed. And then she grabbed me. It happened so fast I barely processed it. Cassie shoved both hands under my left arm and yanked upward with surprising force. The sudden motion threw off what little balance I had. My hands reached for the armrests and found nothing but empty air. The world lurched sideways. In her fury and panic, Cassie stepped on the hem of her own dress. I saw the moment her balance faltered, her arms flailing, her face twisting as she fought not to fall. Her grip on me slipped, then vanished completely as she staggered backward, saving herself. I wasn't so lucky. My lower body was dead weight, impossible to steady. The yank she'd given me sent my upper body pitching forward with unstoppable momentum. With no leg muscles to brace, no core strength to counterbalance, the fall was inevitable. And directly in front of me stood the champagne tower. 7 tiers of crystal glasses, each filled with golden bubbles. The centerpiece of the event. A shimmering monument to Cassie's obsession with perfection. Probably worth more than my monthly rent, certainly worth more than I was to her. My shoulder slammed into it. The world exploded into sound. A violent symphony of shattering glass. A rainstorm of crystal fragments. Wind chimes made of destruction. The entire structure collapsed, crashing around me as I hit the ground. Shards sliced my palms as I instinctively tried to catch myself. Others cut across my arms, my cheek, my neck. Pain flashed through me like sparks. My head struck the tile floor, an impact so hard it blurred my vision. The 200 bottle of Dom Perignon toppled from the top of the tower, smacking into my shoulder before rolling away. Blood seeped across the white tiles, mixing with champagne into a grotesque pink pool. My dress clung to me, soaked with a blend I couldn't distinguish, wine or blood. My hands looked shredded, tiny shards of glass glinting beneath my skin. All around me, the garden fell silent. No music. No murmurs. Just the quiet dripping of champagne, and my own ragged breaths. I couldn't move. I didn't dare try. My neck throbbed. My head rang. And through the ringing came Cassie's voice, high, shrill, furious. Oh my God, my 5,000 dress. You ruined my party. Not are you okay? Not someone help her. Not even basic human concern. Only her dress. Her party. Her tragedy. I couldn't see her face, only the horrified expressions of the guests and the forest of chair legs around me. But her voice carried effortlessly, each word soaked in venom. Someone gasped. A few guests rushed forward, ready to help. But a new voice sliced through the chaos. Stop. No one touch her. Female. Commanding. A tone born from saving lives and expecting obedience. A woman pushed through the crowd, dropping her designer handbag without a second thought. She knelt beside me, ignoring the wine and blood soaking into her cream pantsuit. Her hands, steady, trained, came to rest on either side of my head, securing my neck in perfect C-spine alignment. Listen to me, she said, calm and authoritative. Don't move. Don't turn your head. I am stabilizing your spine until paramedics arrive. I knew that voice. Everyone in New York did. Dr. Helena Kingsley. Greg's aunt. Chief of neurosurgery at Mount Sinai. The woman who had placed 8 screws into my shattered spine 2 years ago. Doctor, Greg whispered, stepping forward. Dr. Kingsley didn't look at him, yet. Her eyes were on me. Sharp. Assessing. Familiar. Call 911, she said, her tone leaving no room for delay. Report a spinal injury and an assault. Request police and ambulance. Now? Assault. Cassie screeched. What are you talking about? She fell. It was an accident. But Dr. Kingsley wasn't looking at Cassie. She was looking directly at me, with recognition and anger burning behind her composed professional mask. Matilda Wells, she said softly, quietly, only for me. I know who you are. I've got you. You're safe. Despite the pain. Despite the humiliation. Despite the blood. Something in me finally cracked open. I wasn't alone anymore. The next minutes were surreal, suspended in time. When you're lying flat on the ground, held immobile by someone who knows exactly how fragile your spine is, time stretches. I heard everything, the whispers, the sharp breaths, the distant clicks of phones recording. But I couldn't react. I couldn't even turn my head. All I could see was sky, perfect blue framed by delicate branches, while Dr. Kingsley's hands kept me anchored. You're doing great, Matilda, she murmured. Keep your breathing slow and steady. Good. Somewhere nearby, Cassie unraveled. Aunt Helena, you're overreacting. She's faking. She can walk. She's doing this to ruin my day. Dr. Kingsley didn't move her hands. But her voice could have cut steel. Miss Wells, she said loudly, addressing the crowd, I am the surgeon who personally drilled 8 pedicle screws into your sister's T10 and T11 vertebrae 24 months ago. I know the structure of her shattered spine better than anyone in this garden. A collective gasp rippled through the guests. I couldn't see their faces, but I could imagine the dawning horror as the truth clicked into place. Do you want to debate medical science with the chief of neurosurgery? Dr. Kingsley asked, icy and controlled. Cassie fell silent. Completely. And with that single declaration, hours of whispered lies, and 2 years of her rewriting reality, crumbled just like the champagne tower, loud, messy, and irreparably shattered. From where I lay on the ground, The world looked strangely distant, yet painfully sharp. I could suddenly see the guests more clearly. An older woman I didn't recognize stood frozen, her hand trembling over her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. A younger couple clung to each other, the man holding the woman protectively, as if shielding her from the chaos. And then, at the edge of my vision, I saw Greg. His face had drained of all color, his expression stunned, hollow, completely shattered. Cassie stood motionless, her perfect updo unraveling, her 5,000 designer dress soaked in champagne, and with a dark spark of satisfaction, I noticed, stained with a few drops of my blood. Around us, whispers swept through the crowd like a rising storm. Did you see that? She pulled her right out of the wheelchair. Who does that? That poor girl, is she even conscious? Someone said the sister caused the car accident. Was she texting? Is it true? I lay there, glass embedded in my skin, blood drying sticky on my cheek, pain radiating through every nerve I could still feel, and all I could think was, I'm alive. Somehow, it could still get worse. And yet, bizarrely, I felt calm. Surviving the Jeep crash that destroyed my spine, ended my ballet future, and left me with 8 screws holding me together, had changed something inside me. After facing the worst moment of my life, everything else felt small. Manageable. Almost trivial. But this public unmasking of Cassie, felt like something else. Something terrifying and satisfying all at once. Then the sirens split through the air. In minutes, paramedics surrounded me, working with sharp precision, as Dr. Kingsley fired off medical information like rapid gunfire. T10 complete. Spinal hardware in place. Recent head trauma. Possible concussion. Multiple lacerations. I want her collared, boarded, and taken to County General. Call ahead. Dr. Helena Kingsley is accompanying the patient. Imaging immediately. No one questioned her. When a neurosurgeon gave orders, you obeyed. They fitted a rigid neck brace, rolled me onto a backboard, and strapped me down. Pain flared with every movement, but I stayed silent. I'd survived worse. As they lifted me, I finally saw the entire scene, the collapsed champagne tower. Shattered crystal sparkling like diamonds in the sun. The floor streaked with blood, my blood. Dozens of guests staring in horror, pity, fascination. Cassie's dream day had become her downfall. 2 police officers arrived. One, her hair pulled into a severe bun, approached Cassie with a notepad. We need to ask you some questions regarding the incident. Cassie's face twisted. It was an accident. I was helping her sit for the photo. She's my sister, I would never. A man stepped forward. Grey suit. Serious expression. One of Greg's business associates. I'm Lucas Chambers, he said firmly. I was standing less than 2 meters away. I saw everything. He pointed at Cassie, grabbed her sister with both hands and pulled. Hard. That was intentional. That was assault. The air shifted. The officer's expressions hardened. The female officer said, given the witness testimony and the victim's injuries, you need to come with us to the station for questioning in relation to an assault charge. What? No. Cassie shrieked. This is my engagement party. You can't take me. She swatted at the officer, panic overwhelming her judgment. Stop resisting, the officer warned. Cassie tried to bolt, but the officers moved instantly. They grabbed her, spun her around, and the cuffs clicked shut. Cassie broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, mascara streaking down her ruined face. Her expensive pastel gown was drenched in wine, blood, and humiliation. As they marched her toward the patrol car, she kept looking at Greg. At our parents. At anyone who might save her. But the crowd parted, stepping away, refusing to be near her collapse. Greg said nothing. He didn't defend her. Didn't protest. Didn't take a single step forward. He simply turned away. For the first time in 2 years, something inside me loosened. A knot I had carried since the crash finally began to unwind. She wasn't untouchable anymore. No more keep the peace. No more silencing me for her comfort. No more protecting her from consequences. This mess, this blood, this public spectacle was real. As they loaded me into the ambulance, I took one last look at the botanical garden. The pastel dreamscape splattered with blood and broken glass. Guests whispering. My parents pale and shaken. And Cassie, being placed into the back of a police car, her perfect world collapsing. Dr. Kingsley climbed into the ambulance beside me, still wearing her blood-stained cream suit. And for the first time today, I felt safe. I'm coming with you, Dr. Kingsley said, her voice firm enough to silence any argument. We'll make sure you're stable, and then we'll make sure justice is served. The ambulance doors slammed shut. Sirens wailed. And as we sped away, I finally exhaled the breath I hadn't even realized I'd been holding. Cassie was no longer untouchable. 2 days later, I lay in a private recovery room at Charleston County General. A concussion band circled my wrist like a plastic badge of survival, and nearly 30 stitches held my skin together. The scans were clean, no new spinal damage. Just soft tissue injuries, cuts, and a concussion. A miracle, all things considered. Dr. Kingsley had insisted on a private room. She refused to let me be placed in a shared ward where reporters might swarm. Because yes, there were reporters. Society bride assaults disabled sister at engagement party. Someone had filmed everything. The shaky video stopped before I crashed into the champagne tower, but it clearly showed Cassie grabbing me, yanking me. The news blurred my face, but not hers. Her meltdown, her arrest, her ruined designer dress, all of it broadcast in high definition and shared thousands of times. It had all the ingredients the internet loved: wealth, family drama, a disabled victim, a villain in pastel couture. People online were ravenous. I should have felt vindicated, relieved, victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. The door opened, and I expected a nurse. But it was Greg. He looked destroyed. His suit rumpled, hair uncombed, dark circles bruising the skin beneath his eyes. Matilda, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I believed him. Greg wasn't a liar, he wasn't even capable of pretending. If he'd known the truth, it would have shown every time he looked at me. She told me you were drunk, he said, dragging a chair closer. That you crashed the car into a tree. That she tried to stop you. She said, you blamed her so you wouldn't have to face the consequences. Ah? The official family-approved version. I'd heard it so many times, sometimes even I doubted myself. I wasn't drunk, I said quietly. I don't drink. Ballet dancers don't. I know, Greg murmured. I know that now. The door opened again, and Dr. Kingsley strode in holding a manila folder. She looked refreshed, but her expression was sharpened steel. Good. You're both here, she said. Matilda, it's time you saw this. She spread several documents on the bed. Medical records. From the night of the accident. 24 months ago. I performed Matilda's emergency spinal fusion, she said, slipping into her clinical cadence. Her jeep hit a tree at roughly 40 miles per hour. She handed Greg a paper. The toxicology report. Blood alcohol level, 0.0. Greg's eyes widened. Completely sober, he whispered. Dr. Kingsley continued, the police report states the driver, Cassandra Wells, was texting. She lost control on a curve. Matilda was the passenger. She never touched the wheel. Greg's jaw dropped. Cassie was driving. I was in the passenger seat, I said. She was texting her ex, the one before you. They were in some dramatic argument about whether they were on a break. She wouldn't stop. I begged her. The memory was so vivid it made my stomach twist. The blue glow of her phone. Her angry typing. My quiet, desperate, Cass, watch the road. The drift of the tires. The tree rushing toward us. And then pain, sirens, surgery, and a life forever changed. Greg swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell anyone? I did, I said. When I woke up after surgery. I told my parents everything. I hesitated, then forced the words out. They said it would ruin her life. That insurance would sue her. That she might go to jail. They told me to protect my sister. Greg's face twisted in disbelief and disgust. My parents have always protected Cassie, I continued. When we were little, she stole, she lied, she broke things, and they blamed me. As we got older, she sabotaged my auditions, stole my money, lied to my friends. They always excused her. She's stressed. She didn't mean it. You're too sensitive. Dr. Kingsley snapped the folder shut. What Cassie did at the engagement party was assault, she said. What your parents did 2 years ago was coercion, and insurance fraud. The statute of limitations hasn't expired. Greg looked sick. I almost married her, he whispered. I almost tied my life to that. How did I not see it? Narcissists are expert performers, Dr. Kingsley said gently. They show you what you want to see, until it's too late. Silence settled over the room. Heavy. Final. Transformative. Greg stared at the floor, re-evaluating every moment of his relationship, every smile, every lie, every manipulation that now made a grotesque kind of sense. And I lay there, watching the truth finally emerge into the light. She didn't mean it the way she pretended. Except, she always did. Cassie's eyes flicked down to my wheelchair, and her whole expression shifted. Not just annoyance this time. Hostility. Open, unfiltered hatred. What is that? She hissed, stepping closer. My wheelchair, I said slowly, thrown by the venom in her voice. Cassie, you know that pitch-black thing looks like the Grim Reaper rolling through Eden, she whispered, leaning so close I could smell champagne on her breath. Champagne and cruelty. You brought it here on purpose, didn't you? You just had to ruin one perfect day. Cassie, no. This is my chair. I needed to, but she was already gone. Her heels snapped furiously against the stone path, as she stormed toward a service table. She grabbed the first thing she saw, a pristine white tablecloth, and snapped it open with a violent flourish. She marched back like a general with a flag. Cover this pile of junk, she ordered, voice low and dangerous. Now? Before I could react, she draped the cloth across my legs, over the wheels, trying to hide me like I was an ugly piece of furniture that didn't match her aesthetic. As if my existence was the flaw ruining her perfect day. For the first time in 2 years, 2 years of swallowing her cruelty, 2 years of letting her rewrite the accident, 2 years of silence. I pushed back. I grabbed the cloth and shoved it off. No, such a small word. Such enormous consequences. Cassie's face went scarlet, blotches of rage creeping up her neck. She snatched the cloth back and stormed off, muttering "ungrateful bitch" under her breath. For the next hour, I watched her glide around the party, too bright, too loud, too sweet. Every time she leaned close to whisper, another pair of eyes flicked toward me. I knew exactly what she was doing. She was rewriting the narrative. Again. Later I'd learn the full list of lies. Matilda has Munchausen. She likes the attention. Her injury was barely anything, she exaggerates everything. She's jealous. Determined to steal my spotlight. And the worst part? People believed her. I stayed near the rose garden, watching guests drift around me like water around a rock. Mom and Dad pretended not to notice me. Greg saw me once, took a step toward me, but Cassie swooped in, latching onto his arm, steering him away like a prize she couldn't risk losing. Did he know the truth? Or had she fed him the same polished lies she fed everyone else? About an hour in, a photographer arrived, a hipster guy with a man bun and expensive equipment. He began setting up near the main stage, framed by thousands of dollars worth of peonies. Family photos. Cassie called out cheerfully, slicing through the string quartet. My stomach dropped. I stayed perfectly still, hoping she'd ignore me. Of course she didn't. Her eyes snapped to mine across the lawn. She gestured sharply. I wheeled over, dread curling in my stomach. Everyone was already lined up, Mom and Dad stiff in their dress clothes, Greg's wealthy parents smiling politely, aunts and uncles stacking in like pastel dominoes. And then I saw it. A huge banquet chair with a pink ribbon tied around it, rigid, upright, requiring core strength I didn't have. A chair I absolutely could not sit in. Matilda, Cassie cooed sweetly, her fake public voice dripping sugar. Move your wheelchair. Sit in that chair. It'll look more uniform for the photos. Everyone stared. The photographer lifted his camera. Mom gave me her "don't embarrass us" look. Dad avoided my eyes completely. Cassie, I said quietly. You know I have a T10 spinal injury. I can't sit in a chair like that. I'll fall. I'd explained this so many times. A T10 injury means no sensation or control below the belly button. No abdominal muscles. No way to catch myself if I start to tip. Sitting unsupported was like balancing on a tightrope. It always ended the same way. Her smile didn't move. But her eyes sharpened into something cruel. You're always good at ruining things, she murmured sweetly. Then she leaned close. You're jealous I'm getting married, and you're a cripple, right? The word hit like a slap. Not because I'd never heard it, but because I had never heard her say it. Stand up, you fake, she hissed. And then she grabbed me. It happened so fast I didn't have time to brace. Cassie shoved both hands under my arm and yanked upward, hard. My balance shattered. My hands reached for the armrests, but there was nothing. Nothing but air. And gravity. Always gravity. I kept replaying everything through this new lens, wondering what else Cassie had lied about, wondering who she truly was beneath all the performance and pastel perfection. The door burst open without a knock, my parents swept in like a storm surge, all frantic movements and raised voices. Matilda, Mom gasped, grabbing my hand so tightly it hurt. Oh, thank God you're okay. Dad stationed himself at the foot of the bed, face solemn. We were so worried. We came as soon as we heard. A bitter thought flickered through me. They hadn't visited yesterday. They hadn't even called. But now that Cassie needed something, here they were. We need you to do something, Mom said, eyes red but suspiciously dry. The performance of crying, but not the tears. It's very important. Here it comes. Matilda, Dad said gently, please drop the charges. Call the police and tell them you slipped. Say your sister was just trying to help you up. If you don't push the case, they'll release her. There it was, the demand, wrapped up like a plea. Mom squeezed my hand harder. She's your sister. Family protects family. You know she didn't mean it. She was just stressed about the wedding, Dad added. Anne, you know how you can be. How I can be? I repeated. Mom sighed. Difficult. Stubborn. You insisted on bringing that black wheelchair, when she asked everyone to keep things light and pretty. The wheelchair I need to move. I said. Well, yes. But you could have tried harder to match the color scheme. Maybe put ribbons on it or something. And then refusing to sit in the chair for the photo, when she was only trying to include you. I pulled my hand away from her grip. She assaulted me. There's video. There were witnesses. Witnesses can be mistaken, Dad said quickly. It all happened so fast. People see what they want to see. This was the moment of false defeat, the moment I let them think they were winning. I let my face crumple, allowed my voice to sound small. Mom. Dad, I whispered. This isn't about what I want anymore. The police have the video, the witnesses, the medical report. This is a criminal case between the state and Cassie. I'm not the judge. I can't make it disappear. It was technically true. After charges are filed by the state, the victim cannot simply withdraw them. But my parents didn't understand the legal system, they only understood pressure, manipulation, and loopholes. They exchanged a look. Wheels turning. Scheming. We understand, Mom said at last, patting my arm with saccharine sympathy. You're tired. We'll let you rest. They left without asking how I felt. Without apologizing. Without acknowledging their golden child had assaulted me in public. Greg, who had stayed quiet during the entire encounter, stared at the door. Are they serious? He said. They want you to lie for her. After everything. They always want me to lie for her, I said. Dr. Kingsley, who had observed silently, pulled out her phone and moved toward the window. Richard? Helena Kingsley. I need a favor. She paused. Yes, that engagement party case. I need you to ensure the key witness knows his rights. That he understands what witness tampering is and how to report it if anyone tries. She hung up and turned back to us. Richard is my attorney. Someone will try to pressure that witness. We are making sure it won't work. You think they'll try? Greg asked. I know they will, I said. They are desperate. How serious are the charges? He asked quietly. Dr. Kingsley checked something on her phone. Assault and battery causing bodily harm to a disabled person. That's an aggravating factor. With the video, the witnesses, and Matilda's injuries, the prosecutor is considering up to 10 years. Greg went pale. 10 years? She shoved a paraplegic woman into a tower of glass, Dr. Kingsley said coldly. She could have severed her spinal cord. 10 years is appropriate. Silence settled heavily. The pain medication made the edges of the world soft and blurry. Rest, Dr. Kingsley said gently. I'll make sure no one disturbs you tonight. For the first time in 2 years, I fell asleep without dreaming about the accident. The next morning I woke to hushed voices outside my door. My father's tone, sharp, aggressive. Another voice, calm, firm. A moment later, Greg appeared in the doorway, jaw tight. Your parents were here, he said. Security sent them away. Dr. Kingsley left orders, only approved visitors. What did they want? Greg sat heavily beside the bed. Matilda, they asked me to do something unforgivable. He ran a hand through his hair. They want me to convince the witness to change his statement. I froze. The man who saw Cassie grab you, Lucas Chambers, is a business partner of mine. Somehow your parents found that out. Greg's hands clenched. They wanted me to tell him he was mistaken. That maybe he didn't see it clearly. That maybe it would be better for everyone if he just said he wasn't sure. And what did you tell them? I asked, though I already knew. I told them to get the hell away from me, Greg said. Do they even understand what they were asking? That's witness tampering. A federal felony. I could lose my career. My license. Everything. Greg looked at me with something close to horror. I didn't realize your entire family was this rotten. Not my entire family, I said quietly. Just, most of it. He started pacing, running a hand through his hair. I already called Lucas. Warned him your parents might try to pressure him. He's furious. He says if anyone reaches out, he's filing harassment charges. They will try, I murmured. They always try. But even as I said it, a tiny spark of hope flickered. Not because they were good people, but because this time, they were trapped. Too many witnesses. Too much evidence. Too many people who knew the truth. And now, by trying to manipulate the witness, they drowned their final chance. Greg left around noon, promising to bring me real food because, according to him, hospital food should be illegal. Dr. Kingsley stopped by afterward, checked my stitches, and pronounced me healing nicely, which, in doctor speak, meant I looked like I'd fought a blender and lost, but would probably survive. I was alone, staring at the ceiling, contemplating how bizarre life could be, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Wells. This is Jennifer Hart, from Hartwell Associates. I'm the attorney assigned to your case. My case? I repeated. The assault case against your sister, Cassandra Wells. I wanted to update you on the proceedings, and some developments. I pushed myself upright, ignoring the tug of stitches. What kind of developments? Your sister's attorney reached out this morning. They'd like to negotiate a plea deal. My pulse spiked. What kind of plea deal? They are concerned about the strength of the prosecution. The video is damning. The witness testimony is solid. And the aggravating factors, assault on a disabled person, severe bodily injury, mean your sister is looking at substantial prison time if this goes to trial. How much time? I asked. The prosecutor believes he can secure a 10-year sentence. Possibly more, given the public nature of the assault and the implied premeditation. 10 years. A decade of Cassie's life. She would be 41 when she got out. Her youth, her beauty, her entire perfect life eaten away. I should have felt triumphant. Vindicated. Instead, it felt complicated. What are they offering? I asked. If you're willing to submit a victim impact statement, requesting leniency, and tell the judge you believe your sister can be rehabilitated, they are prepared to plead guilty to a reduced charge. aggravated assault instead of assault with intent to cause serious bodily harm. With your statement and a guilty plea, she'd likely serve about 2 years. Possibly less with good behavior. 2 years instead of 10. Still prison. Still consequences. But not a life-shattering sentence. Miss Wells, she continued, there is a catch. They want restitution. Restitution. For your medical bills, pain and suffering, and punitive damages. Their proposal totals $420,000. I almost dropped the phone. $420,000. Your current hospitalization is already nearing $60,000. Add therapy, medical equipment, lost income, emotional distress. Honestly, $420,000 is reasonable. Some attorneys would push for double. But my parents, they don't have that kind of money. That is not your problem, Ms. Hart said smoothly. If they want the plea deal, they pay. If they don't, we go to trial, and your sister faces the full 10 years. When do they have to pay? Before the preliminary hearing next week. They have 7 days to wire the full amount. 7 days. 7 days to produce $420,000. Impossible. My parents lived comfortably, not lavishly. Dad, a mid-level insurance manager. Mom, part-time boutique employee. A nice house. A sailboat. Retirement accounts. But nearly $500,000 in cash. No, Miss Wells, the attorney said, I need your answer. If they meet the financial terms, will you submit the leniency statement? Was I? 2 years in prison wouldn't destroy Cassie's life. She'd survive it. Maybe even come out better. 10 years, though, that was different. That would be permanent. And the money, $420,000, would change everything for me. I could afford adaptive equipment. Therapy. Accessible housing. Independence. Yes, I said softly. If they pay the full amount, I'll submit the statement. Good, Ms. Hart said. I'll notify them. The clock starts now. That evening my parents arrived looking like ghosts. Dad grey-faced and slumped. Mom aged a decade in 3 days. $420,000, Dad said without greeting. That's what they are demanding. That's what the attorney calculated, I replied evenly. We don't have that kind of money, Mom said, voice cracking. We went to the bank. We called everyone. We can't just, you can liquidate your retirement accounts, I interrupted calmly. They both stared at me. I checked. Between the two of you, you have roughly $280,000. After taxes and early withdrawal penalties, you'd net about $200,000. They looked stunned. You can sell the sailboat, quick sale, not market value. Maybe $100,000. Their faces drained of color. For the remaining amount, I continued, there are hard money lenders who fund against home equity within days. Silence fell so heavy it felt like gravity. That's our retirement, Dad whispered. That's everything we've worked for. Selling to liquidators, hard money loans, we'd lose half the value of everything, Mom said, sounding faint.